So, uh, in the real world, a baby's cry is, well, it kind of just ruins your afternoon nap.
Right, or a flight.
Yeah, a flight. It makes a flight a little uncomfortable, but it's an everyday manageable kind of stress.
Hmm.
But if you step into the world of My Little Pony, uh, the scale completely breaks.
It really does.
Like a baby's cry isn't just a minor inconvenience. It can literally shatter an ancient magical relic
Hmm.
and doom an entire empire to this catastrophic Arctic freeze.
Yeah, it is a massive escalation of stakes. And that's really what we're doing today. We are looking at the history of this franchise because, as it turns out, the way a billion-dollar brand portrays a crying baby tells us almost everything we need to know about how media treats childhood.
It's wild.
It is. We have this fascinating stack of sources covering Generation 1, Generation 3.5, and Generation 4. And it's just a perfect case study in how franchises balance narrative stakes with, merchandise.
Yeah, the evolution is honestly wild
Hmm.
because when you trace this through line, you see the writers initially treating kids as these miniature adults with world saving agency.
Right.
And then they pivot to these bizarre kind of crude merchandising experiments.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll definitely get to those.
Yeah. And then finally landing on portraying infants as literal weapons of magical mass destruction.
Exactly. But to understand how we got to the magical mass destruction, we actually have to start back in 1986.
Okay, Generation 1.
Generation 1. Specifically, My Little Pony the movie, which it introduces us to Baby Lickety Split.
Right.
Now, to understand her role, you kind of have to look at the toy aisles of the era. She was the centerpiece of the 1986 Betty Bye Eyes line.
Betty Bye Eyes.
Yeah, Betty Bye Eyes. And she was actually the only baby pony carried over into the 1987 First Tooth toy line.
Oh, wow. So she is like prime merchandise.
Oh, absolutely. She
That-
is the star baby pony. But the way she's written in this movie feels completely detached from the whole concept of a vulnerable infant.
Right, because she's rehearsing for a baby pony dance recital.
Mm-hmm.
And then she decides that her own unchoreographed steps are just vastly superior to everyone else's.
Which is such a teenage thing to do.
Yeah, and she ruins the entire performance and gets scolded by Buttons.
Right. And rather than throwing a standard toddler tantrum, crying or whatever, her reaction is to pack her bags and run away from home.
Like a literal hobo bindle on a stick kind of thing.
Basically, yeah. She decides she is going it alone.
Yeah.
And Spike the Dragon ends up following her.
Right.
And at one point, she completely ignores her own biology because she's an earth pony. But she decides that part of her new independent lifestyle means she can fly.
Wait, what?
Yeah. She literally jumps off a cliff, plummets down a waterfall, and leaves them completely stranded and unable to be heard by the search party.
Okay, wait, I have to stop you there.
Yeah.
She's a baby. How does a toddler fit into an apocalyptic storyline without just being this helpless damsel in distress for the older ponies to come and rescue?
And see, that is the most fascinating part of the G1 narrative structure. She isn't a damsel.
Okay.
While she's stranded, the main villains of the movie, the witches, Hydia, Rika, and Draggle,
Right, the witches.
they unleash the Smooths.
Ah, the smooths?
Yes, it is this unstoppable, sentient purple ooze that just starts burying Dreamcastle.
It's basically a tidal wave of pure depression.
Exactly. If it touches you, you become hopelessly grumpy and woeful.
Like a purple apocalypse.
A literal purple apocalypse. And Baby Lickety Split, after making this tearful wish in a well and accidentally discovering the lost Flutter pony, Morning Glory,
Right.
she doesn't just get rescued, she acts as the primary diplomat for all of ponykind.
Wait, the runaway baby is the diplomat?
Yes. She single-handedly convinces Queen Rosedust to intervene, so you have a baby pony swaying a monarch to use their magical wind, the Utter Flutter, to destroy the Smooths and save ponykind.
I mean, giving a baby the emotional burden of saving the world just feels narratively absurd.
It does.
She feels way less like an infant and much more like a rebellious teen runaway in a gritty 80s movie. Like, did kids actually buy that kind of characterization back then?
They absolutely did, and it really comes down to the psychology of 80s toy marketing.
Oh.
Animated features back then were, let's be honest, they were essentially extended commercials.
Right.
But they were competing in a huge action-adventure market, like Transformers, G.I. Joe. So kids didn't just want to, nurture a baby toy. They wanted to project their own desires for independence onto the protagonist.
Oh, I see.
By giving Baby Lickety Split that fierce agency, she becomes a miniature adult. The writers needed a character who could make hubristic mistakes, experience isolation, and then eventually achieve redemption.
And you just can't do that with a realistic, completely helpless infant.
Exactly.
So the physical plastic toy in the store had the Betty Bye eyes, and it was cute, but the character on screen had to be an action hero because that's what actually drove the plot forward.
Right. The narrative always superseded the biological reality of the character design in that specific era.
Okay, so if that miniature adult model worked so well for generating narrative stakes, why did the franchise completely abandon it?
Well, because eventually every franchise hits a wall of commercial fatigue.
Yeah.
And the corporate strategy suddenly shifts from storytelling to just sheer aesthetic novelty. Which brings us to the fall of 2008, the transition into Generation 3.5.
Oh boy, the Dark Ages.
The Dark Ages.
We were talking about the Newborn Cuties toy line.
Yes, we are.
And this was the tail end of the Core 7 era, and the strategy was apparently to take the established main cast, so Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, all the rest of them,
Right.
and just redesign them as babies.
Yeah.
But the sources highlight some extremely bizarre contradictions here.
Very bizarre.
Because they're branded as newborns, right? Which
Yeah.
implies total vulnerability, but they physically resemble and act like walking, talking toddlers.
Yeah, it is a complete misalignment of marketing and media portrayal. And the media portrayal is really where this era cemented its infamous reputation.
Definitely.
So in 2009, they released a DVD called Once Upon a My Little Pony Time.
Right.
It featured shorts like Over Two Rainbows and so many different ways to play.
And this was produced by a studio called Kunoichi, using Adobe Flash.
Yes, and the animation quality is widely cited as the lowest point in the entire franchise's history.
Really? Like worse than the old 80s cartoons?
Oh, way worse. One of the shorts appears entirely unfinished. Like, there is zero lip articulation.
Wait, their mouths don't move at all.
Not at all. The characters' heads simply bob up and down, frozen in this static smile, while the dialogue plays over the track.
Oh, man. I can only compare that to being on a really glitchy Zoom call.
Yes.
Like, you know when the audio is coming through perfectly clear, but the video is frozen on a deeply unsettling frame that just sort of bounces around your screen.
That is exactly what it looks like.
Was that a deliberate stylistic choice to save money? Or just a colossal production oversight?
It was a brutal business mechanism at work. Relying on cheap flash animation for the Newborn Cuties was, it was like a restaurant slapping a new name on yesterday's leftovers.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Fans could immediately taste that no new creative ingredients went into it. Generation 3 was ending, the budget was likely slashed to ribbons, and Hasbro was just trying to squeeze out one last product line before closing the kitchen to prep for the massive G4 reboot.
Right. French magic was just around the corner.
Exactly.
But stripping away a character's established depth just to rely on a really cheap, cute factor seems incredibly short-sighted.
Oh, it backfired terribly. When you don't invest in the basic mechanics of animation, like making a character's mouth move when they speak.
Right. Pretty fundamental stuff.
Right. You break the psychological illusion of the character. The audience immediately stops seeing Pinkie Pie or Rainbow Dash. They just see a piece of plastic merchandise being aggressively marketed to them.
Yeah, the illusion is totally shattered.
The miniature adult model of the 80s worked because it respected the audience's desire for a story. The Newborn Cuties failed because they offered zero plot and zero characterization.
So if the cheap, cute route fails miserably, and the miniature adult route from the 1980s feels too outdated for modern audiences, what's left? Like, did they just give up on babies entirely for Friendship is Magic?
No, but they had to completely rethink the narrative function of a baby in the show. Instead of looking at action movies or toy gimmicks, the writers for G4 actually looked at real-world parenting.
Which brings us to Season 2, Episode 13, Baby Cakes.
A classic.
Yeah. When the show introduces the Cake Twins, the writers use their mixed genetics.
Yeah.
So Pound being a Pegasus and Pumpkin a unicorn.
Right. Born to Earth pony parents.
Exactly. And they use this not just for lore building, but as a vehicle for pure environmental chaos.
It's brilliant. Mr. Cake waves away the genetics by citing, distant relatives.
Right. My great-great-grandfather was a unicorn or whatever.
Right. Which neatly allows the writers to inject multiple different magic systems into a single, completely unprepared household.
And the parents desperately need a babysitter to handle this massive catering order they have. Enter Pinkie Pie. And she's thrilled, assuming childcare is just, singing her piggy dance song and playing games.
She views babysitting entirely through the lens of entertainment. It is completely devoid of the actual labor of caregiving.
And if you've ever tried to keep a toddler occupied while you're on an important work call or just trying to get anything done, you understand the sheer desperation Pinkie Pie feels here. And that's just on a non-magical scale.
Oh yeah, just regular baby struggles.
Right, because the moment the parents leave, the crying starts. And absolutely nothing she does works. She only gets them to laugh when she accidentally runs into a cupboard and breaks a giant bag of flour over her own head.
So she discovers a solution, but it is an inherently destructive one.
It devolves into pure slapstick horror. I mean, Pound Cake smashes a shower spigot, which launches Pinkie into the next room with a literal geyser of water. And then she dumps more flour on herself to calm them down again. But because she's soaking wet from the shower, she literally turns into a walking mass of dough.
It's amazing visual comedy.
And then the genetic twist pays off in the worst way possible. Pinkie leaves the room for a second, comes back, and the crib is empty.
Oh.
Because Pound Cake is using his tiny little Pegasus wings to walk on the ceiling.
And Pumpkin Cake.
Pumpkin is using her unicorn magic to phase right through the solid wood of her playpen and levitate toys across the room.
Yeah.
Pinkie tries to grab Pound Cake off the ceiling, and this tiny infant lifts her off the ground and drags her around the house. Pinkie tries taping an upside-down playpen to the floor to trap them.
Right.
And Pumpkin just magically phases right through it, and Pound flies up and shatters the tape.
They are entirely immune to logic or physical boundaries.
It's like someone adopting a puppy because they just want to cuddle on the couch.
Right.
Only to find out the puppy is chewed right through the drywall and somehow learned how to pick the deadbolts on the front door.
That is a perfect analogy.
Pinkie Pie just breaks down in actual tears.
And what the writers accomplished here is a really brilliant philosophical shift. They use the established magic system of Equestria to amplify and literalize standard parenting struggles.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Notice the contrast with G1. The Cake twins totally lack the adult agency of baby lickety-split. They aren't trying to run away, they aren't forming complex thoughts,
Right.
and they certainly aren't saving the world.
They're just acting on pure, unfiltered infant instinct.
Exactly. They act as chaotic environmental hazards. They are forces of nature that just test Pinkie Pie's sense of responsibility. And the lesson she writes to Princess Celestia at the end of the episode is actually profound for a kid's show. It's basically that our desire for responsibility can sometimes vastly outrun our actual ability to handle it.
Wow. Yeah.
It grounds the fantasy in a deeply human struggle.
But then, taking that localized storm inside Sugar Cube Corner and turning it into a literal nuclear event is, I guess, the logical next step for the show.
It really is.
And that brings us to Flurry Heart.
Yes. Season 6, Episode 1, The Crystalling.
So Shining Armor and Princess Cadance have just had a baby. And when Twilight and her friends arrive at the Crystal Empire train station to visit, Shining Armor is having a full-blown, sleep-deprived, nervous breakdown.
Which is a wonderfully grounded, very realistic touch for a new parent.
Yeah, I've seen that look before.
Exactly. And it heavily contrasts with the lore-breaking reality of the child herself.
Right, because Twilight goes to meet her new niece and discovers Flurry Heart is a natural-born alicorn.
Which is a huge deal in the lore.
It's unprecedented. Even Celestia and Luna are entirely shocked by this. It has never happened in their history.
No.
And because she is an alicorn, her magic isn't just difficult to manage like the Cake twins. It is completely unpredictable and massive. Like she sneezes and blasts a physical hole straight through the palace ceiling.
Right. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of the crystalling ceremony.
The one thing protecting them.
Exactly. It's the only thing strengthening the crystal heart and protecting the entire empire from the freezing Arctic weather outside.
So the stakes are incredibly high. And what I love is that the episode brilliantly juxtaposes this massive apocalypse with Starlight Glimmer's B-plot.
Oh yeah, the B-plot is fantastic.
Because she is being forced through this agonizingly awkward friendship lesson, trying to reconnect with her childhood friend, Sunburst.
Right.
And they are sweating through this tense, mundane small talk in his living room, while literally right outside, a baby is about to destroy the city.
The contrast between interpersonal social anxiety and literal magical catastrophe is perfectly balanced there.
It's so funny, because when Flurry Heart is separated from Pinkie Pie at the ceremony, she starts to cry, and her magical wail physically shatters the crystal heart into pieces.
Just completely destroys it.
The relic is destroyed, and these menacing snow clouds immediately descend to bury the Empire in ice. Handing an alicorn's power to a newborn is basically like handing a loaded bazooka to a teething toddler.
It really is.
I have to ask, though, from a world-building perspective, is it even responsible for them to raise an alicorn baby in a heavily populated area?
Well, the sheer danger of it is exactly the thematic point the writers are making here.
Okay.
By season 6, G4 managed to synthesize the entire history of the franchise's approach to babies.
How so?
They took the apocalyptic, world-ending stakes of G1, the threat of total destruction we saw with the Smooths.
Right, the Purple Depression ooze.
Yes, and they combined it with the pure, unintentional, instinctual chaos of the Cake Twins.
Ah, I see. Because Florrie Hart doesn't want to destroy the Crystal Empire, she just wants her babysitter.
Exactly. She doesn't have the emotional regulation to handle being separated. By making her a staggeringly powerful alicorn, the writers literalized the feeling every single new parent has.
Which is?
The terrifying illusion that their baby's emotions are a life or death crisis that impacts the entire world.
Oh, wow, yeah.
When your baby is screaming in a grocery store, it feels like the crystal heart is shattering.
It really does feel that way.
The show just makes that feeling a literal physical reality.
When you lay it all out like that, the journey is honestly incredible. I mean, we started in the 1980s with baby Lickety Split, who essentially had the agency of a teenager.
Right.
She was running away, arguing with dragons, and playing diplomat to save the world because the toy line needed an active adventure hero.
And then the franchise crashed right into the uncanny valley of 2008.
The Dark Ages.
Right. The G3.5 newborn cuties stripped away all character agency in favor of that bizarre, cost-cutting aesthetic that gave us bobbing heads with no mouths and just alienated the entire audience.
It's just so creepy. And finally, modern Equestria found the perfect balance. G4 gave us babies that are incredibly powerful, lore-breaking, and capable of shattering empires, but they act exactly like real babies. They cry, they chew on things, they make massive guesses, and they completely test the sanity of the adults trying to care for them.
It proves that even the simplest commercial concepts, like designing a baby toy to sell to children, can be manipulated by clever writers to explore deeply different themes. Over 30 years, the franchise used baby ponies to explore the desire for independence, the dark ages of franchise fatigue, and ultimately, the overwhelming, terrifying responsibility of caregiving.
It really makes you appreciate the writers who have to take these plastic figures and spin them into narrative gold.
It really does.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought based on everything we've unpacked today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We know that in this universe, babies can be born with world-shattering magic. They have the ability to phase through solid wood, walk on ceilings, and sneeze holes in palace architecture.
They're walking natural disasters.
Exactly. So, how on earth did early pony civilization ever survive its own infancy?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right. Long before they had organized nurseries, advanced baby-proofing, and ancient magical relics to protect their cities, how did ancient ponies survive raising children who could literally blow up a cave just because they missed a nap?
That is a terrifying thought.
Something to ponder the next time you hear a baby cry. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.